guys, welcome to this episode of Outspoken. We have a special guest today. This is Danique. You might recognize him from his time on Logos Fighting Prince Charming. He's a good friend of ours.
Very short stint.
No,
it wasn't.
Short but memorable. Short but memorable.
Like I've been saying, you're cutting yourself short by saying a short stint because you were on there you're the most memorable person that was on the show.
I was
likable.
Well,
I'll say that one.
All right, y'all, stop this.
He's here.
We got him. We booked him.
Book.
Y'all know I'll be hanging out with y'all.
Right. One of our biggest videos that we've done so far was our episode on racism in the gay community. We're constantly getting feedback about it. Some people are very supportive and understand our point of view, and some people have different opinions, and some people gave us other things that we want to think about. So we just kind of wanted to do an episode where we're revisiting racism, some of the points that other people brought up, maybe some things that we left off, and just see how we feel about things today.
And I know that a lot of the things I did say were not the most popular views, but they are my views, and I feel like a lot of people in the gay community and in the straight community feel the same way.
What were some of the views that weren't as popular?
Well, you guys tell me. But I forgot what I said.
Just say that.
No, actually, girl, I don't think you had a lot of controversial comments. I think that all of us were getting ready for filth on that one, to tell you the truth.
For our opinion, our main focus on the racism video, if you haven't seen it, go look at it, was how there's racism in our community, especially dealing with like dating and apps and saying no blacks, and we were going back and forth about is it preference,
No
is
blacks,
it racism,
no Asians,
right?
No fats, no femmes.
Exactly.
And a lot of people feel like that is a racism, that is preference, and that was a big argument. Like, oh, I don't have to necessarily be attracted to black people, I can still be not racist.
Right.
That was a lot of people's argument.
Right.
So how do y'all feel about that today?
Well, there was one comment that said, that was really going at me when I was like, a preference really isn't a preference, it's sometimes rooted in racism. And he said to me, no, that's preference, why are you, that's preference. And I said to him, I said, okay, what if you meet a person who is, against your preference, who is everything you ever wanted, the right size, the right length, the right color.
So we know what Brian looks for first in a guy. So
the right personality, the right job, career choice, everything. He's perfect. But he happens to be against your preference.
He's not the race that you're generally attracted
against
to.
your preference. Would you be interested in that person? He said no. But that doesn't make him racist. He said that doesn't make him racist.
No, I think it does, because when it's absolute like that, when you're cutting anything off, you're blocking your own
From
blessings.
an entire race.
I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I think that is something to be said.
I agree with that.
actually.
Now, if you feel I feel like a lot of people, they don't have the guts to say, I am racist.
Well, people don't want to be called out. People don't want to think that their views are racist, even if it's an internalized thing that they're not maybe fully aware of themselves. It's
true.
How they've been trained. It's how society's trained them. It's how society's pointed out what is beautiful over hundreds of years, and what we put out there, and who's famous and beautiful, and whatever. It's all deep rooted, and they don't want to face those.
They don't want to
recognize it. Right.
Yeah.
And I was noticing the majority of the people that made those comments happen to be white, but I'll just go ahead and I'll sit this
No,
right out.
but not everyone.
Not all of them, but the majority of them were.
On the flip side, a lot of them feel like they're cutting time. Like, I'm going to put this on my profile so these people aren't hitting me up and we're not wasting anybody's time. But at the same time, just to be like, oh, no blacks, like you're just excluding an entire race.
That is a double sword.
Because
I'd rather have someone actually put that on their profile so
you don't waste your time.
Yeah. Versus.
So you're not. Yeah. So you wouldn't be opposed. You're not mad when someone puts that on their profile.
I'm not. It's more so I know who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'd rather you show me who you are than me trying to figure out and find out who you are later on.
I definitely agree with you.
Because
one time someone hit me up and they're like, and in their profile they said no Latinos, but they hit me up.
But they hit you up.
Yeah.
And then
I've had that
what did I say? I was
before.
like, oh yeah, I'm a Latino. I'm sorry, I'm good.
Right.
That's gold, right?
Yeah.
But you know where that comes from? That comes from the exception rule of like,
right.
Oh no.
Well, then that's microaggression.
Well, no, it's totally microaggression because a lot of people, they want to sit there and say, I have these standards of this, that, and the other, but you're the exception. You're not like every other black guy.
And
you're
it's
not
because
like
you go against the norm of what they've experienced with that particular race or, that particular ethnicity.
What their stereotype is for that.
And
then,
exactly.
Right.
But
and that's still not okay. I try and lead by example of being a contradiction of what they think the norm is.
Right.
But,
But when you say you try to be the contradiction, is that really being you? Or are you trying to
No, because that's who I authentically am. Like, I'm articulate. I'm not, some stereotypes of being like, oh, okay, or at least in the South, it's like, okay, if you're gay, you're a hairdresser. I'm not a hairdresser.
Right.
You do have nice hair,
I try. I'm a business analyst. I try and be an articulate person as far as speaking and whatnot. Not
be your authentic self.
Yeah, but it's not conscious. It's just who I am.
Right.
And so whenever I have those types of situations where people are using microaggressions in the sense of oh, you're a little different from, other black people that I met, or I call them out.
Yeah.
It kind of is rooted in when I would say something that was left-handed, my mom would pop me in the mouth. I kind of do the same thing where it's like I call them out right when they say it.
Right.
So they know that it's wrong.
But you can't do that for everybody. You know what I mean?
I do.
But why? But why do you feel a need?
Because you always want to get an understanding,
Yeah.
why do you feel that way? Because I'm not black,
Yeah.
but I've also had people, you're Latino, you don't look Mexican.
What'd you just say?
You don't look Mexican.
You say you're not black?
And I get that a lot too. But my thing is but you don't look like, well, what does one look like? Well, how's one supposed to act like? What are you meaning when you tell me that? Because I want to hear
You don't seem black, or you don't seem
and
Mexican.
and I think that's a good way to contradict or even have them think more deeper in the logistics behind what they're saying. It's to ask that question, because when you ask that question, it kind of, sometimes I've seen them ask themselves and know that it's wrong. When I say, for example, I'm blacker than him. So what does that mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can see in their head oh, you know what I mean. I'm like, no, I want you to explain.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to explain because they know what they're saying is wrong.
Right.
I want them to kind of correct themselves, so I
It makes them think about it.
Questions.
It makes them think about it and have to articulate it and either look stupid or reanalyze their view on it. So
because some people need their perception challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because you think that this one race is just this particular way. No, we're all different people, and we're all human race before anything.
Well, society has conditioned us to think that
And the media.
way. And the
media, yeah.
They think that way because if you notice, in more white communities, it isn't seen that way. Everyone's seen as like a lone wolf if they do something, differently. But if I or you were to do something in the public eye, you'll be lumped in with every black person who's there. Commit a crime.
But it's a lot of things. It's not only when it comes to crime or petty theft or whatnot. It's even, I could use Finding Prince Charming as an example, where you have someone that is quote unquote goofy, but I have to rethink of every move that I do and be strategic about it, because I'm not going to be labeled as goofy.
Right.
I'm going to be labeled as a coon.
Yeah.
So it's
right.
I have to think about the things that I do. I can't just be myself off the cusp.
Interesting.
Why do you go so extreme as saying coon?
Because that's what they do.
Is that what they did to you?
No, they didn't do that to me because I wasn't a coon on the show.
But
because I was
as far as
thinking about it.
you mean as
But
far
if
as
I didn't
reality
think about
TV
it.
and
just
media
in general. In general, I feel that a lot of times, white person can be goofy, but a lot of times the black person will be the coon, or
more of a
you get accused of
about
playing up to your stereotype, to what the stereotypes
Right.
are. Yeah,
exactly.
I get it.
Versus where it's that could be me, but that's only one facet of who I am.
Yeah.
And because, when you do reality shows, they only represent one facet of who you are.
They want
because
you
they
to
have create
fit in a
story.
mold and have a
Exactly.
storyline. Right, of course.
I have to, think about all of those, little things, those microaggressions that could come about, or
how they're going
to want to paint the picture of who I am.
So on the show, were there any microaggressions that were directly put on towards you, behind the scenes or actually in the house?
Surprisingly, I would have to say no, and it's not me like defending or anything like that. I think it was more so because I am familiar with that like corporate world, so I'm very conscious of how I present myself and how I speak and how I go about certain situations. And I'm a people person, and I have the gift of gab. So even if it was one of those situations where I felt like that was coming up,
you would have called him out.
I would call him out, or I would, I would act accordingly so it wouldn't be that way. Like, I kind of wouldn't give
them the ammo.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't give fuel to the fire.
They're trying to get a certain reaction out of you. You just...
And I would be like, no, I'm not going to...
Yeah.
So... But that's things that I don't feel like other races have to necessarily think about.
As much. Of course not at all, yeah.
Well, I would disagree. I feel like, some Latino... I'm not Latino, but I would feel like some Latino people in that same situation will feel a need to maybe speak a little bit more or tell them a little bit more about their Latino culture or their Spanish culture, whatever like that. So
play up the accent
but
a
here's
little
what I'll
bit.
say about that, though, is from my experience, I've never really experienced that so much from like somebody that's not Latino trying to get me to fuel into those stereotypes of what my culture would be. More so, I've been called out by my Latinos that, you're not Mexican enough, or you're not.
And black people do that too, but also Latinos can be black. So I need you to like.
Well, first, let's if you're gonna say that, you have to also realize that a lot of Latinos who do have a lot of African ancestry do not realize that within themselves. Like, there's a lot of Latinos
that's their ignorance.
There's a lot of Latinos who could be darker than I am, who would say, no, I'm not.
That's very prominent in California.
In California,
it is.
Also
right.
in the Caribbean.
It is.
Also
It is.
You're right. In a lot of places. And it comes from self-hatred, which, before the tape started, you said I was self-hating.
Oh. Uh-oh.
I did not. I said, you don't think that some of that was rooted in self-hatred?
From the comments from the last videos and from a lot of views that we have done so far, people feel like I want to be a white man or whatever.
Okay. But what I said was, you don't think some of those comments were rooted in self-hatred?
And my answer is no, I don't. I don't feel like anything... The things I say is because I'm an individual. And I don't want to be lumped in with every other black person out there because I am an individual.
But when you make a comment saying that you would take a pill to be white, I think that's...
I didn't say that. I said I'll take a pill to be straight.
Okay, straight. So that's still self-hatred.
It's not self-hatred. It's not self-hatred. A lot of the times.
Could you at least see why people will take it that way?
I can see why, but I'm taking it as when I said that statement about me taking a pill to be heterosexual. It comes from a place of sometimes I would feel that it will be easier for me to be a straight man. And it will behoove me to think that none of y'all have thought the same thing.
And that's, that's so true.
When I was a lot younger.
When I was younger, I
definitely keep saying when they were younger.
No, but it's a true statement. When I was younger, I felt like I wanted whatever the easier route would be. Because one was young-minded, but also I wanted to, when you're younger, you want to be like the masses. But I've worked so hard to be who I am now, and it's so much struggle and so much perspective that I have gained. And just even knowing my history and knowing who I am and what we've accomplished and, what we really are, I just don't want to give that up.
Well, I think
I'm proud now.
Why
but it's a journey.
Say when we were younger, it's because we are at a position where we're more comfortable now. Maybe we have a support system that maybe you don't have yet, and I feel like maybe it's driven like on your family why you're not there yet, because maybe you're not getting that support system. Because I thank God my family supports me, and that's why I feel like, oh yeah, I can live a happy gay life, and that sounds funny, but it is the case because. Before I used to think like that only because I was like, oh my God, there's no way anybody's going to accept me living this way. So of course I would have took the pill.
I remember you even saying yourself, like you had this vision, like a plan of like, and I did this too, that when we were younger, like I thought, okay, so I'm going to have to marry a woman, I'm going to have to do this, and I'm going to have to lie to everybody and live this life that is really not who I am.
Right.
And that's where we're talking about, like why he would ask you, like, why do you, like, those comments that you made, why people would think that it's rooted in self.
And I recognize it as self-hatred at that time.
But it is a self-hatred because I'm still living as a man.
But that's because you don't have a choice.
But no, I do have a choice. I do have a choice.
Well,
I can choose to be with a woman. I can choose to have a straight life.
But it's not your authentic self. You say you can choose.
Yeah, I could fuck a woman, but
Right.
that's not what I
Anyone
want.
can
There's
make
some, there's some
Yeah.
people. There's some people who rather live on the earth high and drunk all day, but
It's a
they
choice.
choose. Exactly.
Okay,
So
but
So does that stop them from being the addict that they really are? No.
But that's not
But-
fair. You're comparing addiction to sexuality.
And you're
that is
comparing
just
a
no.
negative connotation to something that's positive. Comparing
But
drug
a lot of
addiction
people-
to being
a lot of
black
people
is
don't
not
feel
the
that. A
same
lot
or
of people
being
feel that being
straight.
homosexual is positive.
Well, they're
So-
But
wrong.
that's them.
So-
They're wrong.
They're wrong.
And a lot of people feel that being using drugs regularly isn't a bad thing. So
But it
it's our
literally
society.
kills
It's our
you.
society.
Like it's a detriment to your
So
body.
does alcohol. So does a lot of the processed foods we eat. So a lot of the GMOs.
But
we eat.
not being
But
black or
not
being gay.
being gay.
No, first of all,
If
I don't
you
know why
live
you
in the
love
South,
being
it could
black
kill
or being
you.
gay. Being black and being gay are two different things.
Yeah, but we're
we're
talking about.
Yeah,
we're
you
talking
No,
about.
compared
no,
it.
he just said neither is being black or being gay.
But
It's
you
two
made the
things.
comparison, so that's
I
what
made the
I'm
comparison.
working off of.
What I said was, if I can take a pill to be straight, I would do that. That has nothing to do with my race.
The only comparison that we ever make of being black to being gay is the fact that they are both things about a human that you cannot change about you.
Okay.
And you can sit here and say
I
all you
feel
want
like-
that you can change someone being gay. You cannot change someone to
change
be
your
straight.
behavior.
Period.
I am not saying that it is good to live a life that's a lie. I am not saying that it is something that can be taken away from you. I am saying that sometimes if you choose to not live that lifestyle, you can not live that lifestyle.
Is that rooted in your faith or your religion? Is that why?
Partly.
I mean, it is.
Why are you choosing not to be that way? Because you hate that part of yourself?
And you know that that's not rooted in African
Well,
ancestry.
I'm not.
Christianity is not rooted in
I know that. I know that
ancestry.
Christianity is not really an African ancestry, but
It's
that
Jewish.
is a religion that I feel comfortable with, and that's the religion that I identify with.
Okay.
I know that the early ancestry of Africans were not Christian. African Christians were the third on earth to become Christian. Africans were the third to become Christians on the whole earth. But I will say that
Forced to be.
forests, course,
No, it makes a difference.
What I'm saying is, when I say we can choose our certain things, yeah, I can choose if I really wanted to. If I really wanted to live a straight lifestyle, I can choose to go into that, that realm of being with a woman, having children, and being a straight male.
But there wasn't so
let me
much
finish.
hate
Let me finish.
on it.
There are tons of people. There's no hate. There's tons of people on this earth today who have lived gay lifestyles and said, you know what, I really don't want to do this anymore. Let me go ahead and just do what I was, what I was raised in, and just living with a woman and doing that.
So you think when they do that, that it automatically erases
That's
all
what I
of
want
the
to say.
attraction
Do you
they have?
do you
No,
think if you're
it
okay,
never
if you're
erases it.
if you're you, a gay man or a bisexual man or whatever, and you're living a straight lifestyle, you're still gay or
Okay.
bisexual.
The
right?
attraction is
Okay,
still there. You
guys are
still want to
focusing-
dig in your mouth.
focusing on the whole, you guys are still focusing on the whole gay thing.
You just think some people would choose to have an easier life by
Not just an easier life,
forcing
but
that
just
part of
something that they
themselves down.
identify with more, or something that they love more.
They
which
want
may be
a
that.
traditional family and maybe an easier
Yes.
way of life
Yes.
over living
Yes.
their full
And what's
truth.
wrong with that?
I know some people are.
What's
trying
wrong with
to
this?
live
It's
that
not.
life, but
It's not authentic, and they're not happy.
But if that's
Yeah.
their choice, that's their choice.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, of
I'm more power
course,
to
yeah.
do it. But what I'm saying is that when we sit here and we talk about it, the rhetoric that we want to preach is we want people to embrace
No.
their natural self,
Yeah.
who they really are. I
Especially
don't
if
ever
there's
want
nothing
to.
wrong with it.
Especially-
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
No,
There's nothing
no,
wrong with
There's
being
nothing
gay.
wrong with
I'm
being
not
gay.
saying-
So when
I'm not
someone
saying there's
tells
anything
you-
wrong with it, but I'm saying there are people on this earth who do not want to make that choice.
And what we're
Right.
saying
And we
is
should
rooted
support
in
them,
conditioning.
and we should support them as LGBTQ whatever.
I
Okay,
get
that's
where you-
all
I
right.
do
That's
get
an
where you're
interesting
coming
point.
from.
Right.
I do get where you're coming from, but I feel like you feel like there's so much shame on the gay man.
I'm not saying anything about shame.
No. I feel like if there was so much shame, this wouldn't be an issue. And it doesn't help when one of our own people is putting the shame on it. Like, I'm not saying you completely shame, but at the same time, for you to be like, I wish I was straight, it doesn't help our cause.
I don't think your intention is to put shame on it,
No.
but that's the way it's coming off. Brian.
Well, let me explain. There was a question proposed saying if you could take a pill to become heterosexual, would you take it? I said yes. That is not putting any shame on anybody. That is my own individual thing about it. I would take a pill if it was available to become. That's like saying the same people who say abortion is killing babies. You can choose not to have an abortion. That is your thing. That doesn't mean that you're automatically killing babies for everybody.
I think the only difference with that and like when you're making the analogy about drugs is that being gay is not something you can help. An abortion is a choice. Doing
really,
drugs is a
truly
choice.
Okay.
And so people might
Being
look
gay
at it
is a
like,
choice in a way because
No,
you
it's
can
not, Brian.
You know what? You guys have to open your mind and think about something other than I am gay. That is
What,
it.
pussy?
Yes, pussy.
What do you want us to open our minds to?
Open your mind to say, you know what? There are people on this earth who say, I do not want to be a part of this lifestyle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go
And you
ahead.
think they're happy?
We know, we're very aware that they're there, and we pity them. We feel really bad
Why
for
do you
them.
pity-
But
there's
because
no-
they're not happy. Because they're not
How do
happy,
you know
Brian.
that?
Because give me one example. If you can pull up with one example of some gay or bisexual man that has converted himself to being straight, that is living this authentic life, and it's successful, and he's happy. Show me receipts.
Tom Cruise,
Oh my God.
There it is.
John Travolta.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Josh.
They're not happy, girl. Just because you got money.
Yeah,
know
but they're
that.
a cult too, so
If
that's
you don't
not.
think they're getting dick on the side, you're tripping.
Oh yeah.
You don't know that
That's
they're happy
that
or
part.
not. You're
That's
just
that
assuming
part. It's
that
like-
they're not happy. You're just assuming they're not happy. You do
Bitch,
not know
if
if
you
they're
didn't
happy
have
or
dick in your life for the rest of your life, could you be happy?
Yes.
I can't do
I
that.
probably would have less fucking
It's
drama
not
and
what I can
problems.
do.
Okay, but even
Brian,
not dick, but
if-
like.
I need it.
I believe love can transform a person so that way you can be sexually attracted to them.
I don't like that. I don't like this
Oh.
false hope of like.
It's not false hope, Jeff.
I can't take a gay man telling potential gay youth that
They can
oh,
change
I
and
can change because I thought that when I was young, I was like, I would pray every day, like, oh please God, let me change. I don't want to feel this way because I want to be accepted. But now that I'm like comfortable myself, it's really hard for me to hear a gay man, and I'm just saying out of concern, it's hard for me to hear a gay man because I can't help but sympathize for you. It's like you're still in that space.
Listen, I'm gonna say if there's any gay child out there listening,
You
I'm
can't
not saying,
change.
I'm not saying that you can pray the gay away or all that. You will always have those feelings. But if you choose personally to live a life that is happy,
I lie.
that is, it's not a lie, Jeff. It's not. That if you want to live a life that is convenient or makes you happy, then go ahead and do it. Yes,
Bro.
you always feel that. What?
Like,
What's
I
wrong
love
with
you,
saying
Brian,
that?
but you're giving
I
Kellyanne
know.
Conway answers, girl. You're deflecting from the
stop
thing,
now,
and I
okay.
can't. Like, no, like that's not right. Like, we were in that. There was a
Who
time in
I
our
am
lives
and
where we
what
felt
I
that.
want.
I
Right.
am. Look, you know, the
Convenient?
thing about it is
Do
that
you
I'm
think-
probably okay.
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
No.
Do you think if, say, like, you know, because it does go back to your family a little bit, you know, everyone takes
Okay.
comfort when they have family that's accepting. We all have someone in our family, at least, I think, right? We all have parents that accept us and stuff. Your family doesn't fully know about everything.
It's never
Well,
been
they've been watching the show, so I'm pretty sure they do know.
But it's never
But you've
been a
never in conversation, right?
And I don't feel like I have to. For what? I don't.
You don't think there's a little bit of elephant in the room with your family? Like, because normal families, you come home and
Do
you're
you-
like, are
do
you dating
plan on
anyone?
meeting a guy? Like, do you ever plan on bringing a guy to meet
First of
your
all,
family?
this is going from racist.
I know, we're getting way, okay, I'm sorry. So, do you think that, say, if your family had, you know, they've seen your videos and they came to you and like, oh, you're gay, we're happy, you should have just told us, you know, totally chill, totally cool about it. Oh, when are you going to bring a boyfriend home? And it was just very natural. I mean, maybe you don't think that they would ever be that, but if that was the case, would you still have more of a need to want to live a heterosexual lifestyle if your family was 100% on board and just like, yay, gay, happy?
I feel so misunderstood because I'm not saying I want to live a personal heterosexual lifestyle. That's not what I'm saying. There was a question proposed saying, if you can take a pill, would you do it? I said yes.
If someone gave us a pill right now and said, you have 5 minutes, you can decide, the option is never on the table ever again.
Yes, I'll take it.
You
Just
would.
because of the position you are in, and you know what? I'm gonna understand it because you're not in that point in your life where you have that
That's
support
really what it is.
Yeah.
And I can't be
I don't
upset
need a
because
support system.
no, I can't be upset because wait, it's something you don't understand, girl. We're past that. It's something you don't understand yet. It's because you're not comfortable in who you are yet.
I am comfortable with
No,
who I am. Now, I may not be fully comfortable, but I'm a lot comfortable than what I was years
And I
prior.
know that,
Hey,
and that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I mean, that's okay.
But
But you've been sitting here saying that you were fully comfortable about it, and you're not. You just said it.
okay, when I say I'm more comfortable than when I was before, I'm saying that there are some things in my life that I just feel like I would never change on. I just feel like if you or you ever want to be with a woman, you guys can. Have you guys ever been with a woman?
Bitch, I could be with a dog too, but like it just.
But why would you do that? Why would you?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you do that?
Why would
It's
you do
not
something you don't want to do?
If you in your life later chose to date a woman or be with a woman or start a family with a woman, would you tell her about your past and everything you've done? Because don't you think it would be very difficult?
It wouldn't be a secret. It wouldn't be a secret. And, there are some women who will actually, be like, you know what, I understand it, whatever.
Down.
Yeah. So what?
And they're down. They don't help.
Yeah.
They don't help the cops.
Turn the corner.
There's a name for those girls. They're called hags.
No,
And I feel bad for them because they end up getting the most hurt. And I don't think it's right. Yeah, if you communicate
right.
and
But
they,
if you're
honest,
and they
no. If you're honest with the woman you're with, and
you're
she's
honest,
okay with that.
Exactly. If you're honest with the person you're with, then
I can't
we
judge
can work on it as a
Things
relationship.
work for different
people. There's a lot of guys
but
out there who are prone cheaters, who cheats all the time. So
I work so hard to be happy with who I am and what I am and where I am, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And I feel like there is some part of you that maybe isn't totally happy. And that's okay because
it's okay.
once you recognize it, if you choose to work on that facet or that aspect of who you are, then I think then you'll understand like where we're coming from. Once you get to that space, and that space is not necessarily just, I'm gay. It's like looking at yourself and being okay that I'm a black gay man in LA. Once you really dig deep and you do the work inside, I think you'll get where we're coming from. And it takes a while, and it takes hard conversations with yourself and others, and really like understanding the logistics behind why you say the things you say. Getting to the root of it. Religion aside, and what other people are saying aside, like how you really feel.
Yeah, what is Brian?
What is
pushing
Brian
religion
doing?
aside, pushing what everybody else.
You know what?
This
This is the great thing about us, Outspoken, and the thing that we're doing now. You can follow my journey, and we can all grow together. Okay.
Absolutely.
We can agree to disagree right now.
Right.
And then
we're trying to understand where you're coming from. Like I really don't want you to feel like attacked or
no, I
beat
don't
up
feel
on.
attacked. I don't feel attacked. I feel like there
and
are
I
people.
feel like I really do understand.
There's a
where
lot
you're
of people who
coming
are
from.
in the same way. That
Exactly.
You
I
feel
feel like
right
there are
now.
people out there right now who are in the same position and the same mindset that I am, and they can probably relate to me.
This conversation that we're having with Brian right now, I was literally in Brian's seat right there.
That's
Like
what I was
the only
thinking.
difference is
I know.
the only difference
That's
is
the
Brian. I used to say I was bisexual, girl.
Me too.
We all did.
I used to say
first
it.
it was like,
No, I didn't have a choice.
Bisexual.
I didn't have a choice. People knew that I was gay.
No, it got to, but in my head I was trying to. No, but it got to the point like me. I don't like. I can't like. I don't even handle it as well as you do are handling this right now. I wasn't handling it when Randy and our friends from college were calling me out. They're like, John, like you really think you're gonna be with a girl? Like, do you really think? I'm like, yeah, I really think I am.
I remember that.
And yada and they were like, girl, like that's not. And at the time and in the moment, I would not fucking accept it. But fast forward to now, and this is honestly how I feel, because I've become more involved in my community. I know what it is to be gay. I fucking refuse to ever be straight. I love my community. I love my friends. Okay. I love this lifestyle, and I am never going to apologize.
That's
the good thing about our community.
You see more love in the straight
community? I feel like it's important to have a mentor and kind of someone who's kind of been there, done that. Yeah. Like I had friends who was older who had to teach me like, hey, it's okay to be you. It's okay to be Jeff, this gay Latin boy from the South. It's okay. Be you. Live your life. And that's what we're just trying to be there for you.
I feel like we should end this segment.
All right.
Get back to race.
We have to be
Right. I do want to thank Brian for putting himself out there and telling his point of view, because Brian does get a lot of flack from a lot of our viewers about trying to understand where he's coming from. He also you get support too. There are people that do understand.
And
the whole
I know.
thing is like overall when we talk about politics and stuff, most of us are on the same page. But in our individual personalities and friendships, and we are at different stages of being gay, of being men, of just growing up, being adults. So I know you hate when we say, "Oh, you're the young one," and we've been there and done that. Because I wouldn't want to listen to
I hated it when they told me that too.
No, but it's very true. You do learn from people, and you learn as you go, and you do change and evolve in your opinion as you go.
You going through this process right now, you're doing it through an outlet. That right there. You were talking to this guy. You're talking to this camera, and it's not. To me, thinking about if I had to talk the way that I was talking when I first moved out here to LA and told people that I was bisexual and that I wouldn't be with a woman. If I had to do that, no, right? If I had to do that in front of a camera, girl, I would dread it. I would dread it. And I would say to you, I applaud you and I respect you so much for being able to still, whether we all disagree with you or not, to be able to tell it directly and no matter what.
That's the whole point. It's the whole point.
Honestly, I really do.
Because there's a lot of people who feel like you right now, and that's important.
And I want them to sound off and say something on the comments.
Before we wrap it up, can I say one more thing to Brian?
Wait, it's up to Brian if he can take it anymore.
And this is all love, girl. You are not the same person that we met 1 year ago when we started doing that.
I can't believe
I don't think
so.
I do think that you changed
as much as we're disagreeing with you right now, I can't wait to see where you are in another year.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We'll put a pin in it for now.
Yeah,
But thank you for sharing your point of view, even if it is controversial with us, with the audience.
Yes.
That's the whole point.
And you know what?
I
I want all the people who do feel the same way as I do to, reach out and actually, send some private message or something.
Go hit up his DMs, girl.
Somebody's pain.
Oh my
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Outspoken. I want to thank Danique for joining us.
Oh, y'all are so tender.
Please do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and get down in that comment section and let you know what you thought about this conversation that we just had.
What's the tea?
What is the tea?
What's the knick-knack?
Right.
Get down.
What's the paddywhack?
Until next time, you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
Am I?
Okay.
I'm living my life. You guys already know I am the biggest.
We are not living.
I'm already drunk on Santa Monica Boulevard, going up and down, doing the late night stroll already.
I just have to pee.
Yeah.
I'm really loving this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Wait, we take breaks. We take breaks.
Oh, okay. I don't know how this situation works.
Oh. Okay, enough of the jokes. Thank you guys.
Oh, you fell off.
Him down.
Fine.
Are you okay? Wait, did you have a drink?
Oh no! Oh, that's your zipper.
Don't fuck up the continuity. Hello.
So we cheers or something?
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I thought this
Wait,
we'll
is it over?
cheers with
I'm
the
so
last
sad.
part of it.
Oh, okay.
I gotta do it.
Pee.
Yep, pee break.